Last night, a slap in the face was delivered.
Iran retaliates, hitting American bases in Iraq in a tit-for-tat attack after the U.S. assassinates a top Iranian general. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. Tensions remain high in the Middle East between Washington and Tehran. We're getting new reports of explosions inside Baghdad's heavily fortified U.S.-controlled Green Zone. For his part, U.S. President Donald Trump has backed away from further military escalation with Iran, but promised to hit back with additional economic sanctions against the Islamic Republic.
Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world.
For all the latest on Iran-U.S. tensions, let's go to CGTN's White House correspondent, Nathan King. And Nathan, President Trump sending some very mixed messages. On the one hand, announcing new sanctions on Iran, while saying the U.S. is, quote, ready to embrace peace. What are we to make of this?
Yeah, and I mean, economic sanctions, has been sort of the U.S. Government's policy for a long time. So the fact that they chose to impose new economic sanctions, which we understand is against some government officials and maybe targeting the metals sector, we're getting details coming out this hour, suggests that it's actually probably the softest response you could have expected from the US after essentially Iran targeted ballistic missiles at bases which had US troops in them. And, once you strip down all the sort of regular anti-Iran rhetoric and the rhetoric about the assassination of General Suleimani, you basically get flickers of hope here. The fact that the US president focused on the fact there was no casualties, either American or Iraqi, with these missile attacks, sort of stressed the point, especially to hawks in Congress who would like to see regime change in Iran, that this wasn't as big a deal as some had been led to expect. And there was this remarkable line in there that a lot of people who'd been covering the region, sort of picked up on, was that he essentially stressed that the Iranians and the US had a common foe in fighting ISIS. Now, the US president has claimed credit for destroying the caliphate almost single-handedly. The fact that he was giving that to Iran as well, and the fact that, remember, that Soleimani was also a hero within Iran and the region for taking on ISIL, was a sort of nod to the fact that Iran and the US, although tacitly and at an arm's length, can work together. And he stressed that they could work together on other things, which is quite remarkable from the Trump administration. So there is signs for hope there. But again, as I said, the rhetoric is there, the economic sanctions are there, and they're not ruling out some sort of military action. But the message underneath the speech seemed to be, well, if you're done, Iran, responding, then perhaps we are. The problem is, of course, is that others outside of Iran and proxies sponsored by Iran in the region may also launch their revenge attacks too.
Nathan, one other point, and that is there's all kinds of speculation right now on where this relationship could be going.
Right.
Some of it focusing on the nuclear deal with Iran, President Trump calling it foolish.
Right.
And he's also urging other countries to follow America's lead and pull out. Do you think the international community is willing right now to abandon Iran, abandon that deal completely?
Well, I mean, as we know, essentially since the US pulled out unilaterally in the middle of 2018, the deal has been on life support. The Europeans have tried to get the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, staying by trying to work out delivering the economic benefits to Iran. That has not worked. And so the US president used this speech to essentially say, Britain, France, China, he actually named them, pull out and let's work out a different deal. This is essentially what the US was saying in the lead up to its pullout of the nuclear deal. Is like, look, maybe we've dealt with the nuclear program, but we need to talk about Iran's malign behavior, as the US calls it, and also the ballistic missile program. Now, could that be an impetus for talks? Essentially, as we know, Iran has abandoned quite a few of its limits under the Iran nuclear deal, both in the last few months and also in response to the assassination of Soleimani. So could this be a window of opportunity? What I'm looking at and I think what a lot of other people are looking at is the reaction of other countries in the region. It was quite incredible that Saudi Arabia and Israel were urging restraint in terms of maybe going to war with Iran. And of course, they're the European players, China, Russia, as well as Gulf countries. So even though we may have stepped back from the road to war, we're not yet on the road to peace. But I think this is a sort of wake-up moment, isn't it? Which could be seized by diplomacy. We'll wait and see. There are plenty of people, though, around US President Trump who would like to see more confrontation with Iran.
Thanks, Nathan. That's CGTN's Nathan King there live from the White House.